Alright, so I thought I'd take a moment here and talk a little bit about the costumes that we're working on and show you kind of the process of putting these costumes together. So there's going to be a series of videos of behind the scenes of the different processes, some of the different weapons that we're using, some of the different things that we're doing, and present it to you as the viewer so you can see what we're doing. Before I get started though, I'd like to say a special thank you to my two main executive producers for this project, Rachel Wallace, who has basically come and presented and provided about 80% of the sets that we're going to use and the locations for those sets. The filming that we're going to do is probably going to be taking place out in Toledo, Washington, where you have a community out there that is hugely supporting this project, and I'd like to say thank you to them too. My second executive producer is Greg Kirkpatrick, and Greg is a great artist, brilliant. He has a brilliant mind, and he is also providing some of the financial backing for this. And I want to say thank you to both of those producers. It's been my pleasure to work with you. I'm looking forward to a long future with this project and the other future films that we're doing with this. So thank you. Moving on, first I want to start with the King Arcletio costume. You've seen probably the dyeing procedure video that I did, so I'm going to show you some of the other pieces of elements of that costume really quick, and then we'll move on to some of the other costumes. So the first one, also, I want to mention a lot of these props and sets we purchased through a company called Medieval Collectibles. That's medievalcollectibles.com. They have a very wide range of costumes and pieces that can be used or modified in film, and they're of really, really good quality, so that was a big thing for me. The first one here, these are what I call the battle sandals. These are for the king, queen, and the officers of the community and the city. This is a basic design. I like them because it has the brass pieces on them. And they're very easily modified or fixed, actually. That was a big thing because we'll be in them for a lot of the movie and fighting in them, and they had to be able to hold up to the stresses of combat. And so also fixing them was actually a very simple process. So those are really cool sandals. King Arcletio costume I already showed you, but I will show you now. This is the King's costume that they have for the armor. Again, it's still going to be modified. Pieces will be added and subtracted from this. The buckles will probably come off, and like I said before, we'll be adding leather straps to this instead. So that is the King's costume. Okay, so the next armor piece, this is the very first actually leather armor piece that I purchased. I bought it on eBay. And I purchased it originally because I liked the brass decorative pieces on here. It looked like it was going to be fairly simple to modify and to fix. This one too, the buckles will be coming off and we'll be replacing them with leather bindings or straps. I was trying to keep the design for all of the armaments very simple as far as the humans are concerned, because I don't feel that 14,000 years ago they would have used a lot of brass and steel and that kind of stuff. So I was trying to keep everything leather based, except for the helmets and the weapons themselves, which will be made of a special type of steel, or at least that's the lore in the film. So that's that piece. Really quick, this is the King's tunic that you saw in the other video. I actually wound up having to dye this piece 3 times to get the nice dark consistency that I needed. So that's that piece. This is the third layer, as I call it, on the King's tunic. I recalled that actually in my stock of costumes I had this, and I wanted the bottom of the tunic to extend, and the best way to do that was to put an undergarment underneath that tunic. Also on the leather armor there'll be leather strappings like you see in Roman and Greek type of armor. So those will need to be added as well. That's that. The messenger costume, the messenger's armor, this is basically a breastplate or a chest piece, and it's actually a very simple design. We were talking in one of our production meetings about keeping the armor for him light, because messengers typically have to run long distances, and so the lighter armor is because he also would be considered somewhat of a master at the sword and spear. At least that's the lore to which I've written in my script, and so he doesn't need the heavy armor as much. Also, the long distances, he wouldn't carry a shield because he's not. It just causes too much. It would make him tired, in other words. So we went with lighter armor and better weapons for the messenger as a result of that. This is the messenger's tunic, and I picked this piece because it had this really cool, let's see if I can show it to you here, really cool gold, lame or gold kind of embroidery type stuff done to the sleeve, and I thought it was really cool because he is the king's son, and it was exciting to cast Josh, who is my son, as the king's messenger. When I realized that I was going to wind up playing the king, it was also a discussion for the production team, and I felt that it was really kind of a cool, interesting way to incorporate my son into the film, because it gives us a natural chemistry that we wouldn't normally have to try to dig out of an actor. That's already there. Also, God only knows when I'd ever get to play on screen with him again, so I felt like I would just take the liberty and cast him as the messenger, and that would be really kind of a cool, special little thing for my son and I. So that is that costume. This is the king's, what I call the royal costume. This would be one of the pieces that he wears when he's in the city and he's not in his armament and he's basically ruling over the city, or in a waxed environment. Along with this also will be gold sandals for the king and queen. The gold sandals are it's actually a leather sandal that we are having painted with a special type of paint to paint onto the leather to make them look like they're made of gold. So that's that. Also, Rachel Wallace, my queen, has the female armor piece, and that she had to take home and mold and soak it, actually, because it's made of a very hard leather like the king's armor and needed to be softened up, and she'll have to put it on and mold it to her body, and it's a very long time consuming process. So we'll show you that later on down the road, and then we'll bring her back into the studio and take pictures and all that stuff. We also brought her in a few days ago where we took pictures of her in her royal queen costume to get an idea for the base unit of that. We'll be adding a lot of pieces, or a lot of things, a lot of layers to a lot of these costumes. A lot of the costumes I've showed you are what I would consider like a base costume. And what that means is it's the basic bottom line costume, and we'll add layers and add pieces to it to enhance those pieces, and it's much cheaper to do it that way than to try to go out and build a costume from scratch with all of these things. It's much easier to get approximate what you want and then add to that as you go, especially for independent filmmakers like myself who are very limited when it comes to the budget. So you got to be kind of creative in that aspect. So a lot of these pictures also are going to be used on the website. The website is being built by Katie Wilson. Katie Wilson is a brilliant web designer, and she is frantically working on putting together the film production website. She also did the Area 51 Productions website, and if you haven't had a chance to go look at that, I would highly suggest doing so. It's a brilliant website, and we are adding new content to that website all the time. Also there you'll find products and services for the production company and different things that we can do for you if you have a project and you want to hire us to come out and work with you on a project. That would be fantastic as well. I also want to reiterate one more time about Medieval Collectibles. They are a fabulous company. They're very easy to work with. I've enjoyed working with their customer service department. Whenever they have an issue or whenever there's an issue in ordering, they immediately call me and we're able to work it out, and we've had to work around different things, a few different things, nothing major, but they're very, very on the spot when it comes to contacting you and trying to fix and make the customer happy, and I think they do a great job too. So anyway, thank you so much. Though that is pretty much all for the costumes. There are other costumes, Lucrian's costume and different costumes that we'll be talking about more later. But thank you so much for watching. We'll be back to talk more about costumes and sets and props later on down the road. We'll see you next time.